It has been over a month since I did my last weekly bite of MMORPG news video, so I feel like it's time we fix that, right? And we have a lot to talk about. Before we do though, I do want to take a moment here and let you all know that we're going to be streaming a brand new MMO over on Twitch literally an hour from right now. An MMO that just entered beta testing 2 days ago, and we would love for you guys to join us as we test it out. For once, it isn't some trashy Asian pay-to-win mess, so it could have potential and you could miss out on this opportunity. And quick thank you to every one of our patrons as well. You ladies and gentlemen are incredible. I cannot express in words how much I appreciate every single patron that we have, so allow me to do it in picture form. Yeah, that seems about right. Also, if you haven't already, follow MRSSTIX and I over on Twitter. We tweet there daily. Now let's go ahead and jump into this week's weekly bite of MMORPG news. Let's start this off by talking about PSO2 New Genesis. Sega announced earlier this week that New Genesis was finally releasing onto PS4. New Genesis isn't in a horrible state, but averaging tens of thousands of concurrent players logged in at any given time is definitely a cause for future alarm. So they caved and have given us PlayStation players the opportunity to bolster their player numbers. Granted, the PS4 and PS5 launch went over quite poorly with a plethora of issues, but everything seemed to be resolved within a couple hours, and now the game is available on every major gaming platform. All we need is more content to actually warrant playing it. Eternal Kingdom is a brand new MMO from STIX, the developers of incredible MMOs like Torum Online, Avabel Online, and Alchemia Story. STIX have a history of making some fantastic quality Japanese MMOs, so players expect that Eternal Kingdom to be the same. After playing it, however, it turns out that Eternal Kingdom is actually one of the worst autoplay cross-platform MMOs that I have played all year. The game looks decent aesthetically, but the story is horrible, the UI is terrible, the auto experience feels disgusting. New MMOs releasing in 2022 should not be as bad as this is. STIX have proven that this is a cheap cash grab and they do not care about the longevity of it at all. In a recent blog post, it was confirmed that Kakao has acquired the majority of Lionhead Studios, the studio developing Odin Valhalla Rising. With that confirmation was further information pertaining to the global release, along with the potential that when Odin launches globally, they may be implementing IP restrictions preventing players from playing the game in the same regions that Aion currently blocks. I genuinely hope that this is not the case, but Kakao have made a lot of bad mistakes with their games over the last several years, so I really wouldn't put it past them. A global release date has not been specified yet. ArenaNet gave players a very welcome surprise late in August. Guild Wars 2 officially launched onto Steam and successfully acquired tens of thousands of new players playing concurrently, with likely hundreds of thousands of potential new players looking to start their journey in the land of Tyria. We have been waiting over 2 years for the Steam release, which has suffered repeated delays to make way for the more recent End of Dragons expansion, and while there's no way to transfer over our existing accounts to the Steam version of the game, it's nice to know that there's been an influx of new life injected into it. Thus far, the Steam release seems to have gone over relatively successfully. Funcom, the studio behind the kind of successful Conan Exile survival game, revealed recently that they were working on a brand new Dune survival MMO. Players were absolutely ecstatic because they thought that it was a new MMORPG, but the sad reality is that it's a survival MMO. So, a survival game with a large number of players that are capable of playing it concurrently. No footage was revealed, and we don't have a release date currently, but it's safe to say, with Funcom behind this, and backing from Tencent, this is going to be a video game with Chinese monetization and a very inept dev team. Untamed Isles is a brand new Kickstarter MMO that genuinely looks great aesthetically, providing a Pokemon-like experience with millions of different monster combinations for players to capture and breed, but recently it was confirmed that they were delaying the release of the game indefinitely. The delay was due largely to me, apparently, bringing to the attention of players the fact that the game is going to be a crypto MMO, something that they chose to purposefully omit from their Steam listing, including a tiny little mention of crypto at the very bottom of their Kickstarter page. Many backers have expressed their discontent with this knowledge, requesting refunds. However, the devs behind the game revealed that they had blown all of the funding by investing in the crypto market, which has since crashed, leaving thousands of people without any way of getting their money back. Yes, this was my fault, evidently. Tower of Fantasy has broken records since launching globally, with over 10 million players registering, downloading, and playing the game over the course of its first few weeks, and tens of millions of dollars in earnings. Yet in those first few weeks, there have been many instances of hacking, exploits, and abuse, causing many players to quit in frustration. Coupled with the lack of content at endgame, it also set records for one of the fastest declining MMOs this year. Not as fast as Swords of Legends Online or Aion last year, granted. 2.0 is currently being prepared for a global release, which should technically bring people back to the game, and the 2.2 trailer just dropped for China. That genuinely looks incredible. These next months will tell us whether Tower of Fantasy is an overwhelming success or utter failure, and I would love to cover it, but as I tweeted over on Twitter, Tower of Fantasy actually demonetized my recent 2.0 video for whatever reason. Bless Unleashed was not a horrible game. Admittedly, it wasn't half bad, on console anyway. On PC is another story. Regardless, Bless Unleashed announced that the entire game would be shutting down as Round 8, the subsidiary of NeoWiz, confirmed they would not be renewing publishing rights globally. Instead, with the closure of Bless Unleashed, comes another new Bless MMO titled Bless Global, a trashy mobile cross-platform, I think, port of the original Bless Online game. Why they continue to do this makes absolutely no sense to me. This is the 5th time now. Bless Online failed 3 times in 3 different regions, then Bless Unleashed failed on console, then on PC after that, and then Bless Mobile, which shut down, Bless Unleashed shut down, and now Bless Global? These people just have absolutely no shame whatsoever. Throne and Liberty is a hotly anticipated new MMO from NCSoft, the next game in the larger Lineage franchise that has been repeatedly delayed since its inception back in 2013, I think. And while NCSoft confirmed that it would be with 100% certainty releasing this year in 2022, it has once more suffered a delay into 2023. This is largely due to NCSoft choosing to not self-publish the game globally. Rather, they are currently in discussions with Amazon Game Studios to publish the game, likely due to the reach that the company has. They brought tens of millions of players to Lost Ark with their marketing and their reach, and I'm sure NCSoft are hoping for the same with Throne and Liberty. Regardless, we're now looking at a release window in the first half of 2023. When specifically remains to be seen. Speaking of NCSoft, they confirmed that they are working on Aion II, a new Aion MMO that is expected to fully replace the lifeless husk of a game that remains. And while an exciting prospect, it was revealed that Aion II would be a mobile game. Yes, in a single sentence, our hopes and dreams for an Aion sequel have been absolutely destroyed, all because NCSoft believe mobile ports are what we as gamers want as sequels to PC games. For the first time in over a year, the Blue Protocol website was taken down for maintenance. This is admittedly a relatively small thing to discuss, I'm aware, but the only time in the past that it was taken down for maintenance was when they were adding or removing important information from it. And while there was no confirmation of what specifically was added to the website, it was definitely something they don't currently want us to know about. Their announcement post for the maintenance was the first blog post made on their website in almost 2 years. For Warframe fans, this was a pretty massive announcement, a direct confirmation from the studio that develops Warframe of a spin-off MMO called Soulframe. While little is currently known about the game, including its release date and which countries will have access to it, a trailer was released that honestly looked pretty sick and gave us a glimpse of the setting that it would take place in. there are a few different MMOs that I believe have a chance at succeeding in the next several years: Blue Protocol, the Riot MMO, and Soulframe. Everything else is handled by indie devs, Chinese or Korean devs, each equally as incompetent as the other. Speaking of incompetent devs, did you know that the studio behind Dragon Raja, which was actually a pretty popular game when it launched, released their newest title, Noah's Heart? They claimed that there were over 7 million pre-registered players signed up in anticipation of the game, doubling Tower Fantasy's numbers, yet barely anyone have rated the game, barely anyone has discussed the game. There has been no real semblance of life in any capacity. This is what happens when you release a garbage game while faking your statistics. People have unrealistic expectations, a belief that the several million pre-registered players were warranted. TeeTiny Online is a new global anime MMO from Smilegate, the same studio behind the popular Lost Ark. It features a familiar graphical style to Mabinogi, and honestly, while not remotely close to being a good game, was still fun to try out during its global beta test. The beta has since ended, and we don't have a currently expected release date, but I wouldn't assume it'll be too long, given it felt relatively complete when MRSSTIX and I streamed it. And that is it. That is all of the MMO related news that mattered to me over the course of the last several weeks. If you think I missed something that you believe is important, let me know down in the comments section below, and I'll go ahead and take a look. Otherwise, I have two different videos on screen right now. One is every single MMO that is still confirmed to be coming out, releasing this year in 2022, and the other is featuring the most played gacha games in 2022, the gacha games that you should realistically be playing if you're interested in the gacha subgenre.